Hey guys, this is Laurel of the Dabbling Hook, and ooh, back itch. Okay. How are you guys doing? It is Sunday at 1:44 p.m. It's the 10th, and I am tired. I totally crashed last night because I had a craft fair yesterday, which went really well. Talk about it later. And then when I got home, usually after the craft fairs, I get home, put everything out of the car, take everything out of the car. Then I sit down, empty my pockets, whatever, put things away. And by the time I get up again, my legs ache because I'm usually on my feet all day, up and down. And once I sit down for a period of time, getting up again is a struggle. I didn't get to do that yesterday. Got everything out of the car, came in, and then I mentioned before, usually when I do the craft fairs, I'm by myself. So I don't usually take a bathroom break. I barely make it to wherever they have anything to eat to go buy something. Sometimes I bring a snack, but usually I just run through the day. So I had to do a bathroom break because we had to go into Boston after. So I got home, I think, around 4:30 or so. And we had to go to the bathroom, and somebody just pulled up on the other side of my street. I feel like the kids now. They always get very suspicious when somebody stops in front of the house. Yeah, so we had to go into Boston to go visit family in the hospital. So yeah, it was a long day, and I hadn't really eaten. So on the way home after that, we ended up stopping and going to one of my favoriteest places to eat, which is the Cheesecake Factory, which I know it's terrible for you, but we do it so seldom that it's a treat, and it was worth it, and it was yummy. And I got a sandwich, and I only ate half, so I just had half for brunch because I woke up late. Yeah, and it was good the second day. Yeah, so it was a long day, and I think I crashed by before midnight, which is usually unheard of for me unless I'm sick. So yeah, it's a long day. So with that long intro, how are you guys doing? I think I said that before, but how are you guys doing? I hope you had a good day yesterday. I hope you're having a good weekend so far. Welcome to all the new subscribers. I hear Carrie Penny in my head. She goes, welcome to all the new subscribers. So, hey, Carrie. So, yeah, I hope you guys stay. It might be a little long today because I'm a little slow going, and I'm very discombobulated. I usually write some notes down, but my notepad is all over the place. And I have things all over the place. The problem with starting to clean up the mess that you have is that you find more mess, and you realize you have more than you thought you did, and now you have to try to find places for these things. So yeah, while I can still see floor, I have a little more work to do than I thought. So anyway, let's get going. Hang on. I also have a very dry throat because I've been in denial that I'm getting sick for a week now. All last week I had a catch in my throat right here, and if I breathe too deeply, I started to cough. It's still kind of there, so tea. Oh, what you saw in the opening is I bought myself a new thermos. I used to have a smaller thermos that we've had for I don't even know how long, and I think one craft fair last year or the year before, I left my tea in there overnight not knowing, or maybe it was more than overnight, and it stank when I open it. And ever since, I've soaked the top. The top is one that you push down on it, and the tea came through it. You could still take out the top. Could you? Yeah, you could still take the top off, but to pour tea, you just push down on this little latch thing. Anyway, it seems like whatever got in there never fully came out. I've soaked it in hot water and vinegar, in dishwasher gel, in hot water, and it's still, so I finally got rid of it. And so I went and purchased myself a thermos and didn't realize just how big it was. So it's huge, which is a good thing because I always bring tea with me to my craft fairs, and it usually lasts me about half the day that I'm there. Well, this thing is so ginormous, and it's supposed to keep your tea warm for or hot for 24 hours. And I tested it last night, and yeah, it's good. So I'm even contemplating getting one for work. So I'm drinking tea all day at work. So instead of always having to get up and go make tea, which is not a bad thing because then you get to move, but I like my tea to be hot as I'm drinking it or very warm. So this would help, but giving it a thought. Anyway, I've got all the yarny things on. I've got my my French triangle cowl on. This is the small version I'd shown before. And I did put it in the craft fair at the time that I'd shown it, but it didn't sell, and it was one of the cold days and I needed something around my neck, so I started using it myself, and now it works, and it's in my favorite color. This is Charisma, and I don't know the color, but it's like a gold, tweedy gold color, which I love, and it's Charisma, and it's just super soft. So I just, I live in an old house I've mentioned before, and when the temperature hit 66, you could just feel the chill in the air. So I just notched it up a degree. So you may hear the heater on. All right, so it's a little warm now. And then in cleaning up, so for my craft fair inventory, I have stuff that I've had for a long time, and I just keep adding stuff on top of it. So for on Friday, I decided to clean out one of the bins, like really go through and see what was in there. And I also had another side bin that was just sitting in the garage since I brought it all up for craft fair season. And I used to do a lot of thin headbands, and sometimes they sold, most times they didn't, and I had a few there. So I've gone through that bin, and this is one that I had done, and it's got to be about 3 or 4 years old, and it's just been in the bin. So with the new hair that I'm still struggling with, I decided to just tie it on, just for a look. So that's what I've been sporting since Friday, this headband. And then I also pulled out a few headbands that did not sell or never sold. This was just one I made up, and it's a cluster V-stitch headband that I made. I started with some, I think they were half doubles here, increased, and then did the cluster V-stitch here, and then this was me using up scrap too. More decrease, and then I just bordered it in some other color because I ran out of scraps. So it'll be one of those, and I'm looking over in my computer. So it'll be another one that'll cover my ear totally, so I will be using that. And then this one, I'm pretty sure it was for a tutorial, and I think this is the Catherine's wheel stitch, but I'm not sure. And I don't remember the tutorial because it was a really, really long time ago. But I made it out of some wool blend and some, I either got this white yarn from an AC Moore bin or from a Big Lots I had gone to, because Big Lots sometimes have yarn. Not sure. And the white one I think has alpaca in there, and you probably can't see it, but it has all the little fibers sticking out. And if you see a lot of glitching, I've been messing around with my settings, and I touched some buttons, but I have no idea what I did. So, oh, and back there, the glare, it's a bright day. It's cold. It's very cold out, and it's a bit windy, and the glare is coming in really bad from over there, which is my living room, dining room area. So I figured I would try a different position, and I had this backdrop I used to use for pictures in the wintertime just to get some brightness in the pictures before I found some good apps. And so I decided to set it up to see what would happen. So that's what you're seeing back there. Anyway, so I did this, and it's on a string, and I think I did it a little short anyway, so I did the longer string, but the color contrast is really cool. I don't know if I like it, but it's another one I kept. There are a couple that I put in a donation bin, and then there's this one, which is just it was either a double, it was a half double crochet done between the stitches instead of in the stitches, and you just did your standard increase, and then, you know, for whatever length, and I have this button, and this button type you will see a little later. But I just made a headband, and I decided to keep this one, seeing that I'm having difficulty finding a hat, not finding a hat, but hats looking the way I want it to look with my new hair. So I've never been one to be concerned with smushed hair, but with this short hair, it's when it gets smushed, you really, really notice it. So it's been difficult right now to find a good hat that will, one, cover my ears and keep me warm, and then not do complete damage to the hair or the hairstyle. So anyway, so that's that. And I've completely gotten a brain fart because I don't know where I was. I really am going to be all over this place today, all over the place. Okay, so I'm going to look at my notes, and just whatever is on there I'm going to talk about. No real rhyme or reason. Actually, I'll do this first. So last time, or the time before, I'd gotten rid of some buttons that I had, and like I said, cleaning up and realizing that you have way more stuff than you really need or that you use. One of the things is, when I find something I like, I kind of go in a little hog wild, and just whenever I see something, especially if it's on clearance, I pick it up. And I used to do a lot of hats with buttons on there. This was a while back, and I just didn't realize how much buttons I'd accumulated. So I have a button, one of those boxes with the dividers. I have the plastic boxes. I have buttons in there. I just went through it, and right now there's some that I've kept. I may go through it again at a later date and de-stash if I'm not using them. But what I did is I went through and, hold on, I put some lint in the bag. I went through and took out some of the buttons that I don't use, and there's going to be glare. I apologize. Like I said, it's a bright day. So the button I just showed on the headband, this is one of them, and in here you can see there are a bunch more. I divided it, and I went through my button stash and just took out buttons that I know I'm never going to use, and they're in there. So there are 2 bags, and with that, I'm going to do another random act of sharing. And I mentioned last time that I had gotten books from Knit Picks, or booklets, I guess they're calling them, from Knit Picks when they were having a huge sale, I think a year ago. I think they were like $1 or something. So I'm like, oh, I'll pick up 2. One will be for me, one will be to give away. They've just been sitting there for a while. Maybe it was the year before even. Anyway, so I picked up, since I'd gotten into knitting, I picked up some knitting ones as well. So we have Knit for Everybody and Knit for Everybody 2. And it's got, obviously, let's see if I can show it, sweaters, mittens, hats, and I believe it goes from baby to adults. That's why it's for everybody. So there's some of the pictures on the back. And somebody, I forget who it is, had said in a comment, if I could hold things up for a little longer. I'm going to try, see if I remember to do that. So yeah, the 2 sweaters again, gloves, more hats, like that, and like that. So those are from Knit Picks. So these 2 knit ones, if you're a knitter, and I will just choose one of the bags of buttons, and it will go with that. So that'll be that. That's one person. And then, of course, for, you know, us hookers, and I know some people don't like that term, but, you know, it's all about, it's in the yarny vein it's used. So they only, like I said, they only had one booklet for crocheters at the time. So under 100 crochet, and I think under 100 crochet collections, and I think it's supposed to be under 100 grams of yarn. I don't even remember. I just picked it up. Yep, just 100 grams of yarn or less. So the front of it looks like this, and it has a pair of fingerless on the back, boot cuffs, and a bird. I didn't even notice the bird before. And let's see if I can find a couple of good photos. They have a linen stitch cowl. They have a Channel Island cap. Wow, it's a lot. Is that single crochets? Oh yeah. Now I feel about single crochets. Amigurumi, no problem, but anything else, ooh, no. Oh, there's a good page. Page view. Oops, hang on. There's the cow and the bird, another cow, and I think that's a purse. And then on this one, hat, purse, boot cuffs, more fingerless, and a shawl. Very lacy kind of shawl. So yeah, so there's that. The motorcycle going by. I have a very old copy of Molly Makes that I didn't realize I had. I don't even remember why. I think I got this in replacement for something at some point, but it's from June 2014. So if you are interested in that, well, it'll go with it anyway. And then I got this as a freebie and something. I don't remember what, but I do remember it was a freebie for something. And I know a lot of people are making cardigans and wearables right now. So this is 4 exciting designs, crochet cardigans. And they're very lacy kind of crochet. Oh, hang on. There it is on the back. So these two and these two. Totally not my style, which is probably why I chucked it somewhere. Yep, not me at all. So that will be the crochet one. And if you heard my stomach grumble, I apologize. Along with a bag of buttons. So what do you have to do? 2 words, knit and crochet. Knit and crochet. Because I want to put that specific wording in the picker so that it zeroes in on that. So if somebody, what am I trying to say? I just want to put those specific words. So knit and the word and crochet. Knit and crochet. That has to be in the comment below, and I will use that in the picker to pick anyone who's interested. So, yeah. And what? So now how am I going to do that? Because one is for knit, one is crochet. And what if you're both crocheters? So the first, I'll just do it this way because that's all I have. The first person to pick, you get to choose which one you want, and that's the way we go. And if the second person gets picked and they're not a crocheter, then I will have to choose somebody else because those are the 2 items that I'm giving away. So I know a lot of us now are dabbling into knitting, so it'll be good to have. So yeah. All right. What's next? Mail. I got some mail. Oh, I should have done this in the beginning. Scatterbrained. Thank you to everybody who wished me happy birthday. I had 2 people who outed me as far as my birthday. I don't talk about my birthday really because I don't really, not that I don't celebrate it, I just, it's another day. The only thing I look for is for family members to wish me happy birthday. That's all. Other than that, it's just another day. So, but Miss Zelda NRJ3 and Miss CC, the Canadian crocheter, Debbie, thank you very much for putting me out there. But thank you, seriously, to everyone who wished me happy birthday. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, I am, how old am I? I'm 48 years old. Yep, I'm 48. I'm 48 years old, but in my mind, I still feel like I'm like, 20 years old or something. Not my body, but in my mind. So thank you, one and all. And like I said, it's going to be a long video because I'm rambling a whole lot today. No amount of tea. Caffeine doesn't really affect me, so no amount of tea or anything's really going to do my energy level any good today. So, all right. Speaking of mail, I don't know if she wanted me to show, but I'm going to show anyway. Oh yeah, bending. Speaking of the CC, she sent me a birthday present. I'm trying not to make a whole lot of noise. So first, she sent 2 packages, which she really shouldn't have, but I appreciate it. And when I picked up this package, I kept tapping and going, what the heck is in here? Because it was in a poly mailer, but it was very firm. And you can tap it and hear noise. I'm like, what is in here? Well, I really need to get one of these things. These food saver things, bags. Not a bag, the food saver machine that sucks the air out of everything. So she made the Magdalene hooded cow in this yarn, which is Sweet Snuggles. And I thought I saw that at a Michael's. It definitely wasn't a Michael's near me. I don't know where I was. Somewhere probably I shouldn't have been. But I know I saw this because it was really, really soft. And I bypassed it. Or maybe I was just streaming. I don't know. But Sweet Snuggles. Super soft. She sent me 3 of them. And I haven't taken them out yet because this right here is good storage because I have to find a place to put them. So that helps right now. And she also made me a bag that I guess gave her a little bit of fits sewing. But just think about it. It's helping the sewing skills, which I have yet to get back to. But she made me, because I'm hot on fire or something like that, she said. But she made me a tote bag, which someone already has their eye on it. But I'm like, I have to at least get like 1 use out of it before I'll even contemplate giving it to you. But yeah, and she mixed media, or not media, but fabric type. And this is the, what was it? Is it vinyl, pleather? But anyway, pretty cool. Look at that, stepping out of your comfort zone here. So, and it's a pretty deep one that you can get a good amount of skeins in there. And, it would be good. Actually, on my travels yesterday after the craft fair going into Boston, that would have come in handy because we're only going to be gone for there for maybe 2 hours or so and visiting somebody. So I brought 2 skeins of yarn with me. Ambitious. Yeah, I got through like maybe a quarter of 1 skein. So yeah, there's the bag, but the pièce de résistance is of what she sent me. Fair yarn. And of course you have to do the sniff test. The one that I am most anxious to use at some point, and I don't know if I'll even be able to use it this year because it will be indoors and all I will hear is complaints about the smell. But there's this it's 100% wool, but it's super bulky, super fluffy. Look at that. I can see the glitch. Nothing I can do about it right now. But look. I'm almost afraid to use it because I'm almost afraid of messing it up because it's very roving type. And then there's a thinner version, which is wool cashmere nylon. Fancy. Very excited. I haven't played with dye in a long time. I tried the natural dyeing. I'm going to leave that to the more ambitious, like Nicole of Darab. Have at it, because I've tried. I still have a container of avocado, I think pits and skins that I boiled together. And when I used it last, I got a tea stained look, which is not what I wanted. So it's been sitting in the fridge for quite a while. I really need to get it out. Maybe I'll do that today. Because the minions are all gone, watching football or something at my father-in-law's. Yeah, but Monica of Mal and B, she just showed on Instagram that she used turmeric to dye, and it was the color was very saturated, and it's that glorious yellow color that I love. So I may have to give that a try as well. But she sent me 2 bags, so a whole bunch that I get to play with, and probably after craft fair season's over, but I may try one of them very soon. Yeah, I feel very slow. Does it feel like that you're watching me in slow-mo? Tip, I'm sure other people have mentioned it. I watch videos on 1.75 or 2 times speed. So hit that gear button and crank it up, and I'm sure it'll sound more normal because I feel so sluggish right now. Okay. So that was mail acquisitions, the thermos, dry mouth. That was one. So Kim of Blue Cherub and Kim of Kim's Crafty Corner, or Kim Crafty's Corner, I forget what the channel is. She is big into amigurumi, so I love watching her. But I believe she hurt her arm or her shoulder, and I know she had a couple of big craft fairs coming that she can't do, which is very disappointing, I'm sure, for her. But they always talk about a colorway of Red Heart Super Saver that I have never ever seen in any store around my way. In all the stores I visited, let me tell you. All the AC Moores, all the Joann's, all the Michaels around me and where I work, I've never seen it. So the colorway that, oops, hang on. I just hit something on my computer and things disappeared. The colorway that they always talk about is Banana Berry, and Kim of Kim's Crafty Corner always says that whatever she makes out of it sells out. But I decided to bite the bullet, and I looked it up, and I think Kim of Blue Cherub was just showing it, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to look for it. I ended up finding it on Hirschness. So this is the Banana Berry, a little blown out. And it's just greens and blues and yellows. I made a couple of things, one thing out of it. Did I make 2? No, I made 1 out of it. That did not sell. We'll talk about the craft fair. So I bought 2 skeins of the Banana Berry, and I also bought, which may now be my favorite color of, funny enough, it's pink, but it's that deep saturated pink, not the Barbie pink. But I bought Pink Panther, and I made something out of it. I made an octo out of it that I actually quite like as well. I loved how it worked out. So that was that acquisition. Acquisition to come. I caved and I did the Lion Brand 5 for 10. I didn't need it, but you know, like I said, I'm on a soft slowdown, but you can't pass up a good deal. You know, that goes without question. So this falls into that category. But what I bought was Vanna's Glamour. I like Vanna's Glamour because I like mixing it with other things. I think it pairs well, and I love the glimmer of it. It's not overpowering, but it's there that you can see it. So I bought some of that. I bought that and Scarfy yarn, which I don't really need, but it was one of those things. I'll find something to do with it. At least the Banana Berry and the Red Heart and the Pink Panther I've already used, and it's not just going to sit there. And what else? Oh, and I bought Scapias. I think that's how you say it. It's not sheep G's, it's Scapias or something in that realm. They're stonewash. I've seen on Instagram, it keeps popping up because there's somebody, I think Sarah Lee Crochet, something like that, but she makes these amigurumis out of it, and every time I see it, it pulls me in. So I bit the bullet, and a friend of mine, at one of the ladies at my weekly fiber meetup, she went to England to visit her mother, and I'm like, oh, maybe you can look for it for me. And she didn't find it readily, and I'm like, you know, I could probably just find it here. And so Jimmy Bean's Wool carries it. So I ended up buying it from there, and I think it would have been cheaper anyway than her having to buy it over there. So that will be coming. So, yeah. So it's not just, oh, it's on sale, it's clearance, I bought it. It has a purpose. Well, the scapias, because I want it and I want to use it and I love the colorways. The Lion brand, because it's Vanna's Glamour, and that's, I think, been discontinued. The only place I really saw it anymore is at Joann's, and that's not there anymore. So yeah, and the Scarfie, I didn't need it, but I'll use it. Still on the soft slowdown. Still on the soft slowdown. Keep telling myself that. Okay. The other thing I forgot to, well, not that I forgot to mention it last time, but I was actually in the middle of recording last week's episode, and I paused because Minions or something was happening. And then I got a text from Karen that she had put out the pattern, but you guys have all seen it now. I know a bunch of people have already bought it, but her very first pattern, I had the pleasure of testing for her. So I made Gil the gnome for G. Who's the G? Isabella, Liam, and I'm so sorry, I don't remember what the G was, and I don't have the pattern in front of me, but it's named after her kids. It's completely escaping me, but it's the first initial of her kids. So I sewed his legs on a little too wide, but it still works. I was actually going to take him to the craft fair yesterday, and I completely forgot because I put Gil on a little shelf, and, you know, I totally forgot about him. So he was overlooking the shenanigans in the household, and I forgot to take him to the craft fair. So he'll be coming with me this coming Saturday. So that's Gil. What else? I have, like I said, no rhyme or reason today. So in cleaning, going through my old inventory, I have a big bag of hats that have followed me around for, some of them, at least 3 years. Because, like I said, it's been in the bottom of the bins. And some of them not that old, but a lot of them are. And I know somebody, other than Billy's Drive, somebody else was, and I think Billy's is more school-age kids, and these hats are more adult size. Someone was collecting hats for donation. So if you guys remember who that was, because I don't remember, put a note down below, let me know, because I will just show some of them. So what I also found was a hat I made, I think, last year. It's called the Slush Hat. It's a paid pattern, but at the time, if you signed up for this person's newsletter, you got the pattern for free, which is what I did. Do I remember who it was? No, but I'll put the link to the Slush Hat. I've mentioned it many times before, but I had made this one a little too big, like a lot too big at the time. But although it makes my head look like a melon, look at that. It is now my hat because I can pull it down and be warm. And I actually wore it yesterday because it was cold yesterday. So that one's mine. But like I mentioned about the Divine hat, I've been making it for years. Like I think 7 years ago was the first time I made it, maybe. And this is one of them in Hellspun, Claudia. This was very popular when I made it at the time. Like, this one has got to be at least 5 years old. And I've made a ton of Hellspun hats. But I had a few that I made, I think, in holiday colors. There's one I left. But I had also a ton of Hellspun. At one point, Michael's used to have, like, almost annual clearance of these. Maybe it was just certain colors. But there's this one. And this was when I was still doing the front posts, back posts, so you know it's old for the brim. But there's that one. And I think those are the two that I had left in there. So there's that. There is the puff stitch beanie. Now the puff stitch got popular with the hook nook. because one, she's a super fast crocheter, like, and she doesn't look. But I learned the puff stitch hat from Crochet Geek. Her name's escaping me. Her channel has really changed. She does very interesting videos now, but oh my god, I can't believe her name. She was like my first, I think, tutorial on crochet. Lint. Oh, why is her name escaping me? I remember, I'll write it on the screen. But I learned a puff stitch from her before it got popular, and this was one of them I made. And I made this in, or this pattern was from her, but I made this in, this was Heartland, in a blue and a green. I'm sure they have forest names or park names, but I don't remember. But I've made quite a few from her pattern. So that one's still there. And this one took forever because the puff stitch that was being made by the Hook Nook was in thicker yarn, and this was worsted weight. And then this one is, most of these are like bottom up. This one was top down I made, and this one is definitely from the Crochet Geek. Again, from Post Back Post, which I hardly do anymore. I've got some plain beanies that I made. Just plain beanies. Just using up stash. And then this is my my Victrina, no, my Leona pattern. But yep, it's blowing out, and it looks very blown out, but it's like highlighter neon green yellow color. This is not even close to what it's showing on screen. But this colorway, it was a discount closeout store that I bought this from. I think it was Heads Up by Line Brand. But I have two of them in that. I've got a Pokemon, one left. I sold quite a few of these maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and I had one left that's, I guess no one liked the pink. Plus it was a little on the big side. I had made some hats for somebody, and one of them I'd made a, never really gotten into the messy bun thing, but it was a request. And I had made options, so this is one left. And this and these are all from, where is it? These are all from Big Twist Premium. They used to have, or they had, a lot of awesome colors in that. This is the Leona again. This is in a little big version. I did this one with a slip stitch brim to see, and it looks like a balloon. But this is in Woolies Tono, I believe. More Leonas. These are ones that didn't sell. So these are like 2 years old. Yep. Another puff stitch. And I know these are older because these were my initial, one of my initial buttons before I settled on the ones I use. So this shape, and it's being blown out. But, and then just a double ribbed beanie. And I don't think I followed a pattern for this. I just winged it. And this is super old. This was some, it was, I think, either an AC Moore or a Job Lot, not Job Lot, Big Lots yarn, and there is a halo on it. And it's beautiful, but it never sold. It's just a beanie, and this is with the, this was the herringbone half double crochet that I use all the way through on this one. It's got nice texture, but never sold. So yeah, I've got all these hats, adult size hats here. So, all right, I'm gonna make a little noise. Hang on. Okay, I dropped something and made a whole lot of noise, so I had to cut that out. So part of the cleanup in my inventory bin was another huge hat. I had a custom order from a friend who wanted something bright, and it took a few tries to get the right thing for her, and this was one of the options that I made, that I just made up. Am I showing you the back? Nope. Looks like there was a line, but no. So it's she wanted a bright green and a bright like pink, but not a Barbie pink. So I had this Karen Simply Soft had a color called Passion. I think they changed it. They changed the name of the colorway, but they had something similar, which I don't know if they still do anymore. But it was one of my favorite when I used to use Karen Simply Soft a lot. So she has dreadlocks and she had long hair. So I was trying to make something that would hold the dreadlocks. So this is also going to become a me hat. Let's see if I can get it on without making a complete mess. Okay, so this is going to be another me hat because it's big enough to hold the hair, and I can slouch it back a little, and it covers my ear. I also have another hat that's, I think it's 100% wool, and oh yeah, you can feel it. I ordered this online because I liked the colorway and I wanted to try it. I think it was called Kaleidoscope, was the brand of the yarn. But after I made it, I don't think that, I don't think if I were to sell it that anyone would really take care of it and not chuck it in the washing machine. So, and it's very stretchy. I did I can't even tell what I did. I don't think it was a single crochet. I think I did another slip stitch brim. Yep. And it was a V-stitch, but it was a V-stitch without the chain one in the middle. Sort of. It was V-stitch for one row, and then I kind of staggered the 2 double crochets in the next row. Like I said, I just made it up as I went along, and it's stretchy, but it's short. So I'll just hold on to that one because I don't think anyone will not toss it in the washing machine. Now the other two, I don't know what I was thinking when I made these. This is Big Twist Bulky or Chunky. I think I still have a few skeins left in browns and golds, but this was another, looks like a clown hat. This is another puff stitch hat, but it is just, it's ridiculous, basically. It's too gappy and too holey to really serve any purpose. The slip stitch brim, obviously it works, but it's just, so I'm going to try to undo it and reclaim the yarn and do something with it. Yep, I think I'll make an amigurumi or something out of it. And again, I don't know what kind of kick I was on, but this is, I think I held it double too. This is, I think I was trying to use up this yarn, but this was, what was this? I think that was a Peyton's wool yarn that I had for a while. I actually made a dryer ball out of some of this at one point, but it came unraveled. It never felted quite right. So maybe it was like superwash. I didn't think it was superwash, but it didn't felt quite right. I got some use out of it, but it came undone. But another puff stitch hat that's just looks like a clown's hat. So I am going to undo that as well and do something with the yarn. Probably amigurumi at this point. So yeah, okay, that's that. I will be right back. Okay, I had to pour myself some tea and clear up some of the mess that is around me. Okay, I said it was going to be a long episode, right? I'm already at 40, I think 46 minutes. So, whips. What am I doing for whips? Whips. I have, so at the craft fair, like I said, I always take project with me. So I have a custom order for 2 hats. I think I showed one before that's done. which is just a basic beanie, and then for just a rib beanie, you know, with lots of stretch. And I think I'm going to have to remake it. This one will go into sales, but I think I'm going to start with a few more stitches. But I'm doing a 3x1 rib for this one. It might work, but I think I'm going to go up a few more stitches. So I'm doing a 3x1. I brought it to the craft fair with me, and I forgot to bring my double pointed needles to close up the top, so that's where I am right now. And I did these on 9mm, did I? It's really hard to read the writing on the Chow-Gu needles. Yep, it's 9mm. So that's a whip. I just need to finish the decrease and finish that off. And then the other thing I worked on, I made a Victrina at the craft fair. So I just need to make a pom-pom, a faux fur pom-pom, and put on that. And what else? And last night, what I took with me when I went to do the visit was just some Thick and Quick in, what is this color? Blossom. And I am, so the reason, one of the reasons the York hasn't come out yet, and I thought I'd done it, and I just realized I hadn't. It's been tested for, I had it tested not so much for sizes, but just to make sure everything made sense. So that's all set. But I was supposed to work on another size up. I'm only going to do this one in 2 sizes. But I thought I'd done the math for the other size, and I hadn't. So I started working on that last night. So that's as far as I got at the visit. It's really a quick to work up hat. If you've done my other 2 knitted hats, then it will be really much quicker to work up. So that's the whip. And what else? Hang on. The unraveled mitten. I realized I totally didn't do, excuse me, I totally didn't do square number 21, and number 22's out as well. So I'm 2 weeks behind, and I'm hoping to get that done this week. Not hoping, I'm going to get that done this week. So maybe while I'm editing the video, I will work on the squares. So that's that. Oh, I ran across a, YouTube did a recommendation, and I ran across a channel, brain dead. His name is Gary. He is in Canada, I think in Vancouver. I'm pretty sure he's Australian. I watched a few of his videos, but he mentioned that his mom was in Australia, but he's in Vancouver. So, yeah, I think he only had like 90 subscribers. So go check him out. You may or may not like him. I'm not telling you to subscribe, but just somebody else to watch, somebody different. Yes, he's a guy. He knits and crochets. I think he crochets and knits because he does more crochet with a little knitting, he said. But yeah, check him out. One of the things I get annoyed at is I'm not telling you to go watch him or recommend him because he's a guy, but I've noticed that people get all, this is just my personal view, by the way, people get all, you know, excited and, oh, guys knitting and guys crocheting. They used to do it before we did. It was a male art that somehow morphed into being women's work. But he's just somebody new to watch. That's why, you know, it's always interesting to find somebody new, see what everyone else is doing. Yeah, so his name's Gary. And yeah, that's about all. Okay. Finished items, and I will kind of more finish items with the craft fair, except for this one. So 2 patterns I'm working on. Speaking of patterns, if anyone's bought, I hope you guys got to take advantage of the Madeline. I was talking to a Madeline yesterday. Magdalene Hooded Cow and the Anastasia hat and the octo pattern. The tutorial is still on YouTube. That won't change, but I just wrote up the pattern for the octo for those who like to have the written pattern. So I hope you got to take advantage of the sale. That's now over with. And the next two, and probably the last two that I'm working on for this year, are the York and my owl. So this is one that I make. It's had many forms as well. There's another one I make that just looks like just a poof, that a lot of people, when they see it, for some reason think it's a purse. And a couple of people have asked, have you ever thought of making it into a purse? I'm like, but yeah, I don't want to get to all that. So, but this is the one that I'm writing up the pattern for. It's almost all written up. Now, much respect to all the Amigurumi pattern writers out there, because when you're done with one part, you're like, oh, I still have to do this. Oh, I still have to write it for this or for that. There's so many pieces involved that you don't think about when you're really making it, but when you have to write it up, oh, yeah. But anyway, I think I'm almost done with all the parts written. I just have to take pictures. Or did I take pictures? I took pictures. I had really bad lighting when I took the pictures because it's just that time of year. And I can't just go outside because it's just too cold, and it's been really windy this week. So I just need to edit the pictures a little and try to get it into the pattern. But stay tuned for the TDH owl coming soon. So that's that. Ooh, I do have one other whip that I'm working on. So I'd shown that my Minion 2, I had made him the hat that was too itchy and a little tight. So I did that in not homespun, wool spun, and that's a bulky number 5, and it's doubled up. So he thought it was a little tight. Excuse me, that catch. I'm not gonna get sick. So I decided to do it by the pattern from, is it CJ's Design? I never remember which one. But I put the link in the last couple of videos. It's the Maple Leaf Beanie. And they did it, the person did it in worsted weight and an 8mm, and I believe, did I do an 8mm? I may be using a 7 because my 8 was, yep, I'm using a 7 because my 8mm is being currently occupied somewhere in a whip. So I'm doing it in worsted weight, and I am using another yarn that the CC, no, this one she hadn't sent me. This one I actually found in the bin at Joann's, I'm pretty sure, but Bernat Premium. I had a 3-pack up there. I didn't realize I did. So I'm using that 7mm. So I've gotten this much done of it, and it's much lighter, and I think it will stretch more on his head when it's doubled up because it's worsted weight. So I am working on that. This is more of my travel, take to work with me project, because I can do it while I'm on a call for the 20 minutes of lunchtime that I get to knit or do anything. All right, so other things I had mentioned, I made from the Banana Berry and the Pink Panther. I tested it out, I wanted to see how they would look worked up, so I made, can't see the face on that one, but it's there. It's very difficult with the variegated yarn. So I used black first for the mouth and then didn't really show up, so I just outlined it in the gray, which I use for the eyelashes as well. And I really, for some reason, I really like this. It's the different shades of pink, the saturatedness of it. Is that even a word? Yeah. But yeah, so this is that one and that one with the smirky smile. I like the smirky smiles. So that's the Banana Berry worked up that way. So those two, and I made 2 chubby bunnies that were latte'd, of course. Aren't they adorable? So this one is all the 2 Knit Picks yarns mixed with the latte cakes, and I thought it was very difficult to see the black smile, so I did it in another latte with the lighter section of it, and then this one. Okay, and then I there's another. I made another. Oops, Susie. I made another one of the small French triangle cows, but I made it in this, which is, I love this yarn, Chunky, in some kind of sparkle. I don't want to say silver sparkle or something. I made a hat, and I made a Victorina hat and the fringe cow. I will put in a picture of those. And there was a little left over, so I started making the seahorse, and I ran out right at the top. So I finished it with some, what do you call it? I finished it with Charisma. I finished it with some Charisma, and I used that for the mane and the fins. And this one's a rattle. And that was all I think I have. If I forget anything else I made, I will put pictures in at the end. This is, 1 second. I was using a mandala sparkle, doubled up, with, nope, it's not doubled up. Mandala isn't doubled up. A strand of mandala sparkle with latte cakes for this one, so it's very sparkly. Very sparkly. So, well, not very sparkly, subtly sparkly, but there's sparkles in it. And the tail, I just used the mandala with the sparkles. Oh, the mess I'm going to have to clean up after this. And then the only other finished item that I had, and so again, in cleaning up my old inventory and things that were just sitting there, I got rid of some stuff that I knew wouldn't sell. There were some headbands that I actually threw away, which pained me to do, but I knew they wouldn't. You can't really donate it because it was just an odd size, and they just didn't sell. I should probably have tried to donate it though, but anyway. But in there was a cup cozy that I made in cotton and in the basket weave stitch, which I didn't realize I really liked basket weave stitch. Excuse me, in both knitting and crochet. So I pulled apart the cup cozy, and I made 5 face scrubbies, and I had a little bit left to make a little circle. Why the face scrubbies? Because last year's dishcloth crochet along from the from Cal Central on a group on Facebook, and that was run, I'm pretty sure, by was it the Underground Crafter as well? I don't remember, but one of the, and if I can find the link, the pattern, if I remember, I should have it. It should be on my Instagram. But one of the tutorials, or one of the patterns, had it was for a dishcloth, but it also had a little face scrubby as well as part of it. So I had a few. I actually mailed my sister some of the dishcloths that I had made from that, and we were just sitting here. And but I mailed her a face scrubby. I'd made 2, and I kept one. And I finally started using it like a week ago, and I'm like, wow, I don't know why I never did that before. I make my own washcloths, and I use that, but I never used a face scrubby. And I usually just use soap in my hands, and then why buy the stuff from the store when you're just going to use it and toss it? You know, those disposable things. And I had some. I haven't bought it in a while, but I had some. So I started using it, and I really, really like it. So I just took that same pattern, and oh man, oh, there you go. Okay, I didn't take a picture either because I made these at the fair. I took the ball with me, and hang on, I'm looking for something dark to put this against. I took the ball of cotton with me, and then, so I took 2 skeins of yarn with me, 2 thick and quick skeins with me. One, I did the Leona hat, and one, the knitted hat I need to finish off. And I was not on my, I hardly sat down at all, so I was constantly working or making something. And when I finished those 2 skeins, thank goodness I threw that ball of cotton and a small hook in my bag. So it's still not going to show up. This way? A little bit. This is one of the Minions whole school notebooks that does that happen to you guys? The kids use like half the notebooks and then they come home and you know, you have to throw away like a perfectly good notebook because it's only half or less of it is used, and then you have to go buy whole new ones again come August. Irks me. Sidebar. But anyway, I ended up making 5 of those. I gave one to another vendor who bought a hat from me. So I have that, and then I had a tiny bit left, and I just made a tiny round, even though you can't see it. But it's just, what did I make? I have no idea what I did. I think I made 2 double crochet clusters, and then I just went around it with single crochets. So it's just a tiny little scrub. But now I have all these washcloths, and I love the one I have that I use is it's blue yarn. It's blue cotton yarn. Speaking of, I know you guys who make who use cotton a lot. What do you think about the colored cotton yarns? Does yours bleed, and how long does it bleed for? Because I knitted a washcloth and I use it upstairs in the bathroom to wipe splashes and all that off on the counter. But I've been using it for, it's got to be like 2-3 months now, and it's still bleeding. It was I think it's the hot blue color. It's really like a turquoisey color. It's still bleeding, especially if you use hot water on it. It still bleeds like crazy. So does that happen to you, or did I just get a bad skein? It's quite irritating because when you think you're done or you've cleaned up, later on you come back, drops of like blue water that, you know, dries on the counter, and you can see it there. So I want to see how these work up. I know they'll get grungy, but excuse me, being cotton, you can just toss it in the wash and you'll be good to go. Okay, so after over an hour of yammering, holy cow, where are we? Where's my phone? I need my phone because I kept trying to keep lists of what sold. Craft fair. I'm going to try to be quick as I cross my legs and get comfortable. Just looking at my list. What sold at the craft fair? Excuse me. So this craft fair was one. This was my 4th year, I think, doing this one. Previous years were good. Last year did not turn out so well. Not bad, but it just not as the previous years. So I was a little concerned. But this year started and people came in, and it started at 9 and it was constant traffic, I think, till about 1 o'clock. And this was going till 3. I never sat down. I shouldn't say never. I hardly sat down at all. Because people were constantly walking by. And I really wanted just to keep on my feet and not sit down, because there's some days you just want to sit down and, you know, you're selling, you need to be up and present and smiling and all that. But it turned out great. It's always been really, even last year when it didn't turn out so well, it's always been a good crowd. The people are really nice who come through. They don't look down at your prices or, you know, make comments or faces. Now, mind you, I do still get like the people who scrutinize, especially the older ladies, the ones, you know, who probably knit and crochet, and they're standing there, you know, looking at the product and like pulling it apart and trying to see whatever. And some of them will look at the prices and just like, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know, anyway. But what sold? My Yip Yip finally sold. The bright orange one that I had finally sold. I was telling the woman who was looking at it, a lot of people, again, looked at it and they're like, oh, look at that. They picked it up. Some of the people went like, what is that? Some people like, oh, you know, it's from, you know, I know what that is, but I don't know what that is, kind of thing. But the woman who picked it up, and I was telling her, oh, the last one, because she had that reaction, not that she didn't know, but she had that like enthusiastic reaction to it. And I was telling her the last one I sold, it was to a teacher who just like, who couldn't pass it up, and there's fluff in the air. And she's like, oh, I'm a teacher too. So I'm like, oh, I guess it was meant to be, you know. I was wondering if I should keep bringing it because it hadn't sold my last how many fairs, and there you go. It's meant for who it's meant, I guess. But she's a teacher, but she said she bought it for her husband and her daughter because they watch that, or her daughter watches it and he watches it with her constantly. And I was telling them that a lot of people ask, well, what do you do with it? What's it for? And I'm like, you could do whatever. It's just, you know, based off that. But I also tell them because, oh boy, because the mouth is, you know, it's lined, you can put stuff in. And we tell them at the end of the night or the end of the show, you know, all the little amigurumis that I have that don't sell, I put it inside of the Yip Yip as storage. Just makes it easy. And they're like, oh. A couple of people thought it was for toilet paper. So if you make it big enough, you can actually put it there and put toilet paper in there. Just a thought. I won't be doing that, but just a thought. Headbands were big. Kim of Classy Kim had asked, I think every time my computer goes to sleep is when I'm seeing the little glitching happening. So I got to figure out how to keep my computer from going to sleep. That might help. Anyway, that was a digression. Kim of Classy Kim had asked, like, you know, I think she was going to do a craft fair soon, or maybe it was happening this weekend as well, of what to make, what sells. Headbands. My headbands, even at the fairs where I don't sell a lot, they're looked at a lot. And I don't know what it is, but around here I get a lot of, I don't wear hats, I don't look good in hats. Headbands take care of that. So I had quite a few headbands sell. And what else? I sold 3 of my Victrina hats with, actually that was my first sale. 3 of my Victrina hats with the faux fur pom-pom, but the first 2 were 2 friends who were there, and they loved it and just melted my heart how enthusiastic they were about it. And they especially liked the faux fur pom-pom on it. And a couple of people asked for the faux fur pom-pom that looks more like, is it the fox? It's the one with it's the grayish one with the black on the tips almost. So I need to make a few more of those. I sold 2 button cowls. No big button cowls sold this time. I sold 3 seahorses. The one that I made last time with the eyes that I didn't like, and I thought I might pull out the eyes, but I didn't. This little girl loved it. She was there with her mother, and she came up to me and she was holding it tight, and her mom was telling her to, you know, she needs to hand it to me so she can pay for it. And she was holding it, squeezing it, and like pointing it or holding it out to me. So I'm like, did you shake it? And she's like, yeah, she did. That one had a rattle in it, so that was awesome. So I sold 3 seahorses. I sold 2 jellyfish. That, like, even the adults, like, go Google over the jellyfish. Mind you, not all of them buy it, but what are you going to do? But I sold 3 jellyfish. I had a really tiny one. I sold 2 regular size one and a really tiny one because all I had was a tiny bit of some yarn, and I just made a really tiny one on a keychain. So that sold. And I sold my Magdalene hooded cowl, the one with the latte cakes. I sold that one, which it was a guy who worked, this craft fair was at a school, and it's a pretty big school, and the space that we have is pretty wide too. he came in and he kept looking at it. He was standing there just looking up, and he was saying how he wanted for his daughter. I'm like, how old is she? Because, you know, she's a teenager. I'm like, they can be fickle. She's like, yeah, no, she's into like, she's more tomboyish, while a lot of her friends are girly and, you know, things like that. She's into, you know, she's in the, I think he said it, she's in the 4-H club or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay. So he wanted me to put it aside for him. He said he'll be back. And it, you know, after a while, I was wondering if he was going to come back, and he actually did. So yeah, the latte, I don't think I showed it here, but I put a picture on Instagram. I'll put a picture in. That one sold. The other one that's on the front picture of the pattern, that one people like looked and pointed, because I like to put it up high where they can see it, and pointed at it a lot. But 2 people considered it a lot, but they ended up not buying it. But anyway, so I need to make another one before Saturday's craft fair coming. But one sold, and I was very happy about that. And I think I stopped writing, so I don't remember what else sold. But yeah, toys weren't really hot. In previous years, the toys sold well, but not this year. There weren't that many kids this year too. That seems to be a theme lately at the craft fairs so far. But yeah, I think that's it for now. I have back-to-back craft fairs. I don't know why I did that. But, well, I said I wasn't going to do back-to-back craft fairs. I've already had one in October, back-to-back, where one was great and one not so great. And then this coming one Saturday is in my hometown, but I've never been to that one. I've never done that one before, and I think this might be the second or third year they're having it, if I'm correct. I may be confusing it with another craft fair. But I'm doing that on Saturday, and then the one on Sunday, I did it for the first time last year. It turned out okay, but we had a lot of issues with the internet reception. So when I got the email about the craft fair, I contemplated it, then I asked, you know, I mentioned to them that that was a huge thing because credit card sales were a big thing for me last time. And she said, yeah, they were working on it, blah, 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 talked about putting me here and linking me up to the I guess the school, the teachers' Wi-Fi or what they have access to. We'll see how that works out. If it's a problem again, I definitely will not be doing it, but hopes are high. So all this to say, I have back-to-back craft fairs this coming weekend. I have a lot going on personally. I won't get into that. That's not for here. So I don't know if there'll be a video, a full video this coming weekend. If I do, maybe late Sunday, maybe Monday, but I'm not sure because I have a lot going on. But I'm going to drink some tea, edit this video, try to keep this cough from going any further, and clean up this mess that I have, and do some, I think it'll be satisfying to unravel this. Have I mentioned that I love untangling yarn? I really do. When I go to AC Moore, they have these bins where they have yarn, and after a while, you know, with people digging through, it gets super tangled. I'm sure Aunt Jennifer of Cinnamon Stitches will know what I'm talking about. I stand there and like imagine what it would be to be able to stand and untangle all that yarn. I know, I'm weird, but yeah, I like untangling yarn. Anyway, I'm going to go rip these out. I'm going to go edit the video. Don't forget to, where did I put them? Knit and crochet for the next random act of sharing. I am going to keep going through my stuff and things that I have not touched, that I am not likely to use. I'm going to try desperately to let go. I have trouble letting go of my yarny stuff. So I'm going to work on that, and I will talk to you guys later. I don't think I've forgotten anything, but as soon as I shut this off, I'm sure I will remember. So on that note, have a good rest of the weekend, last few hours of the weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. So, I said that I'm pretty sure I forgot something, or I felt like I forgot something. I did. I forgot two things. I forgot to thank Kalisha last video for the latte cakes. I was just all excited about getting latte cakes. She latte'd me. So thank you, Kalisha, very much for the latte cakes. The other thing is the traveling blanket, Austin's blanket. I did not get a chance to work on it, and I plan on doing that this week to get it out in the mail next week. So stay tuned.